So the fundamental principles of the Mu'tazila are 5, and then he gives them. The 5 principles of the Mu'tazila, which they base their position upon. He said, so the usul, the fundamental principles of the Mu'tazila are 5. The first is at-Tawheed, divine unity. Obviously, each of these words, they use a word, the word is correct, but what they use it for is false and futile. So the Shaykh gives the word that they use for the principle, and then he explains what they mean by it, the false meaning they give to it. So he said the first is at-Tawheed, divine unity. And its meaning that they use for it. Its meaning is negating the attributes. Denying Allah's attributes. When the Mu'tazila say we believe we have Tawheed, it means to deny Allah's attributes. And they hold that whoever affirms the attributes, then he is a mushrik. So we should realize this when we see that the Mu'tazila using the word Tawheed, that what they mean by it is denying Allah's attributes. They don't mean the Tawheed that the people of the Sunnah mean. They mean denying Allah's attributes. Then he gives the second principle. He said the second principle of the Mu'tazila, the second is al-adl, justice. And its meaning with them is, what they mean by it, is denying pre-decree, denying al-qadr. So they say that affirming pre-decree is tyranny and oppression. And it is obligatory upon Allah to be just. That's their second principle. So obviously their meaning, what they mean by it, is something false and futile, to deny pre-decree. They say because if we affirm pre-decree that Allah has already written down everything and knows it's going to happen, then that's oppression upon the people. Then the third principle of the Mu'tazila, the third is al-amr bil-ma'ruf wa-nahi anil munkar, commanding the good and forbidding the evil. He said, and what they intend by that is al-khuruj, is rebelling against the Muslim rulers if they commit sins which are less than unbelief, less than kufr. Shaykh al-Fawzan said, and this is itself evil, and it is not from good whatsoever. I mean, rebelling, this is their third principle, rebelling against the Muslim rulers if they're sinful. And they call it ordering the good and forbidding the evil. Shaykh al-Fawzan said this principle of theirs, this of theirs, it itself is evil. This rebellion itself is evil. It is not good whatsoever. It's nothing to do with the good, commanding the good. Then the fourth principle, he said, the fourth is al-manzila bayn al-manzilatayn, the station between the two stations. And it is to pass judgment upon those guilty of major sins that they have left Islam but have not entered into unbelief. So this is the fourth principle of the Mu'tazila that they innovated, that they say whoever commits major sin, then he has gone outside Islam. But he has not entered into kufr. He is in a position between the two. Shaykh Fawzan said, and as for the Khawarij, then they pass the judgment upon him of unbelief. The Khawarij say about a person who's guilty of major sin, he's an unbeliever. Whereas the Mu'tazila say, no, he's outside Islam, but he's not entered into kufr. He's in between the two. Then the fifth principle of the Mu'tazila, he said, is infadul wa'id, enforcing the textual threats. And its meaning is that whoever dies upon a major sin, from the major sins, which is less than shirk, then he will remain forever in the hellfire. That's what the Mu'tazila say. I mean, for certain, he's going to be forever in the fire. The threat that's upon him, it must be enforced. Shaykh al-Fawzan said, so they agree with the Khawarij with regard to what happens to him in the hereafter. And they differ with the Khawarij about him being in a position between the two positions. I mean, whereas the Khawarij, they say, no, he's a kafir. A person commits major sin, then he's left Islam, he's a kafir. Whereas the Mu'tazila say, no, he's left Islam, but he hasn't entered into kufr. He's in a position between the two. Then Shaykh al-Fawzan said, and Al-Qadi Abdul Jabbar, who was one of their imams, who was one of the imams of the Mu'tazila, he wrote a book about these things which he called Sharh al-Usul al-Khamsa, an explanation of the 5 principles. I mean, this Mu'tazili, he wrote this book explaining their 5 principles.